I'm happy to participate in this inaugural function of the Logistics Summit 2012. This year's theme, Next Generation Supply Chain, Challenges and Opportunities, is very apt at this juncture, and I'm sure it would make us look into the future of the logistics sector. I would like to commend the CII for taking the initiative to organize this seminar and bringing together all the stakeholders. Globalization has led to increased trade and investment flows among countries and has also intensified competition among them. Greater competition has increased the importance of efficiency in logistic management, which is an important determinant of competitiveness. India is one of the world's leading consumer markets. India is expecting to sustain a strong growth over the coming years and strives to become one of the top 3 economies in the world by the mid-century. The logistics sector, I would say, plays a major role to support this cause, and the connectivity and convenience in operations is the key for sustaining the global trade growth. Infrastructure development is essential for growth of an economy. Logistic infrastructure covering road, rail, waterways, and air network is the backbone of the economy. An ideal situation would be to have adequate infrastructure capacity riding on which the different modes could form a logistic chain for seamless flow of goods and services. Today, as we look into the future of the sector, we must also take a look at the present situation to take stock. I would like to say without hesitation that the current situation offers us a springboard from which the Indian logistic industry can take a giant leap. Firstly, we have experienced how robustly the Indian economy has been growing for about a decade. This provides us with positive canvas on which to paint the future on. Notwithstanding the current dip in growth rate, the economy is expected to bounce back and resume its high growth trajectory. We need to either ride the tide when the economic growth is high or invest to spur the growth itself. We need to seize the moment. We are also aware that the high economic growth has been associated with significant increase in freight movement across road, rail, air and ports, fueling the demand for adequate and modern logistics and warehouses to enable efficient movement, storage and distribution of freight. The installed logistic infrastructure is, however, still inadequate to handle the impact of increased economic activities. This has put a lot of pressure on the logistic infrastructure. Therefore, the logistic infrastructure in the country needs speedy augmentation in terms of both quality and capacity through adequate investment, not only from the government, but also from the private sectors. The pace at which infrastructure development has happened compared to the growth in freight traffic has been rather slow, thereby acting as a bottleneck and dragging growth. We must hasten the process. We also should note the country's young demographic profile and growing disposable income with the people which have boosted the demand not only for adequate but also quality services. This can be likened to a feeder demand for the future which could spur further expansion in the economy and consequently the infrastructure sector. There are also other impediments holding us back. We need to address them one by one and convert them into opportunities. India's Logistic Performance Index reflects some weakness in our logistics system where we slipped in rank as per the World Bank survey. logistics cost in India is high at 13% to 14% of GDP compared to 7 to 8% in developed countries. We should strive to improve the LPI through a systematic intervention on key issues, some of which I have identified above. The UPA government has been very proactively taking a number of steps to boost the growth in infrastructure. It has brought in the policy reforms besides in building the infrastructure across rails, roads, airports, ports, logistic parks, containers, inland container depots, container freight stations, warehouse and cold chains. In the logistics sector, specifically, the government has taken several initiatives by allowing 100% FDI, eliminating CST, introducing VAT, improving multimodal transportation, and aggressively promoting public-private partnership projects. I would like to specifically mention here the National Highway Development Programs, port connectivity projects, projects for expansion of port capacities and increasing container handling capacity, dedicated rail freight corridors totaling 2,700 kilometers, increasing rail freight loading capacity, implementing the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor project, and the like. Lately, sustainability of a high growth rate has been a subject of much discussion, especially in wake of the 2011-12 GDP growth rate falling to 6.5%, which was the lowest in the last 9 years. However, let us not forget that given the global scenario, 6.5% growth rate is still commendable. The government has responded to this slide by taking a serious note of it. The shipping sector are the gateway powering our economic growth. Current growth trends suggest that the maritime sector could require significant addition to capacity to meet future cargo handling demands. The Shipping Ministry has been vigorously implementing the National Maritime Development Program in the 11th plan. During this plan, we could achieve a capacity growth of 13.92 CAGR with the non-major ports showing faster growth at 24.28% compared to 8.12% of the major ports. In the current 12th plan, we envisage to increase the port capacity to 2,686.66 million metric tons per annum by 2016-17 with a projected traffic of 1,758.26 MMTPA. The capacity of the major ports will be increased to 1,229.24 MMTPA with a traffic projection of 943.06 MMTPA. Most of our projects for capacity additions are expected to come through the PPA route besides port funding projects. For this financial year, 42 projects have been identified, out of which 29 projects will be on PPP mode. This will definitely enhance the capacity by 244 MT at an estimated cost of rupees 14,500 crores. It has also been decided to establish a port each in Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal. The port infrastructure are being developed to the world class, and the focus is now mainly on developing connectivity to the ports. I am also personally monitoring these important projects. Today, the industry is also laying focus in making logistic activities leaner and greener by reducing and compensating the carbon footprints they leave on the environment. This should be encouraged. About 70% of domestic cargo movement in India for the last mile delivery of goods happens through roads, which leaves more carbon footprints. We must consider adopting of sea routes which are cost effective and environmental friendly. On the same line, inland water transport is also a focus area. All told, at the end of the day, all these initiatives should aim to make the business environment attractive for local and global companies and to encourage industry to invest in logistic infrastructure. It is equally important to make our operations and processes more efficient. A well-developed logistic infrastructure with efficient processes will result in significant savings in terms of service levels, transit times, inventory cost, processing time, and thus overall logistic costs. Therefore, the summit would do well to not only discuss the question of capacity addition required for future, but also for making the processes efficient to cater to future needs. You have at hand a very interesting and relevant agenda. I am sure this conference will definitely help in charting out the future course of action for further building, improving, and expanding India's logistical infrastructure and lend itself to the success story of the logistics sector in the future. From my side, I can assure you that my ministry will take all measures and lend all support to ensure that the sector is given its due importance and attention. Once again, I would like to commend the CII for taking the initiative to organize this seminar and bringing together all the stakeholders.